It's going to be a long day for Priyank. Priyank is one of the 50,000 postgraduate students who study at Cardiff. He is studying Masters of Business Administration at Cardiff University. The course takes most of his time and he needs to practice what he learns. So he does the theory bit in the morning and the practical bit in the afternoons. Priyank works at an ice cream parlor in the city centre. A lot of businesses in Cardiff are dependent on part-time workers. In fact, a third of Cardiff students work part-time to earn extra money, with the most popular jobs in bars or restaurants. Part-time jobs help students to subsidize an estimated £130 million they will spend on accommodation and living costs for a year.
As a student, I'm working only 20 hours a week, so I don't face any problem in doing 20 hours a week. It's quite flexible timing with my shifts, so whenever I have classes in the morning, I can do my shifts in the evening, and vice versa. And being a student from foreign country, I do need some money to take out my livings and my other expenses.
So let's explore the city. Cardiff, the capital of Wales. Millennium Centre, Cardiff International Arena, Russell Group of Universities, Millennium Stadium, and a diverse mix of people. From shopping centres to sprawling gardens, Cardiff is a treat. Not only for tourists, but also for the large number of students. Cardiff indeed is a city of students.
The economy of Cardiff is quite dependent on the student population for all sorts of roles, whether it be temporary employment opportunities, whether it be injecting money into the economy, but above all, spreading the word of what a vibrant city Cardiff is, because obviously students come from all over the world to Cardiff, and the importance that people, when they have their education in Cardiff, keep that link back to the capital city of Wales. So it has a various degrees of importance: employment, wealth creation, but also links with the outside world as well, and you can't underestimate any one of those three things.
Roads of Cardiff are lined with ads of letting agencies at every few yards. This is a very lucrative business as students come in thousands every year. So how dependent is Cardiff's economy on the higher education sector? I went to see businesses that revolve around students. Jenny is taking a student to view a house.
The rent is £250 per room, so terrace houses, good installation.
These businesses are dependent on students.
Because all the houses around here are terraced. Yeah, it's nice. But our business is probably about 98% based on the student intake. We try and house everybody for 12-month contracts, the length of when they're at uni. The good thing about Cardiff accommodation is that contracts, even though they start in July, like all unis practically, in Cardiff we only usually pay about half rent over the summer if you're not living there. I know in other universities they do charge full rent, but in Cardiff they try and accommodate students and make it more easier to live and with money situation. So they only charge half rent over summer months, which is really good.
It's the summer vacation and Cardiff has emptied out. Students have gone back home, making this low point for many businesses. Subway, actually a student hangout, too is empty. Usually there are 20 employees, but now there are just 5.
Most of the students here, they are from, most of them are Asians. They come to my location and even the Tesco's, our neighbor. That will affect it, definitely. If you stop students, that will definitely affect lots of businesses, not just me. Lots of business will be affected.
This is the Blackware Tavern, a popular restaurant and bar. It is usually packed 7 days a week, but today you can choose your own seat.
Majority, about 90% of the trade is students. The rest is a handful of locals, basically, but we're sat in the middle of a student area, so it's all accommodation only for students. So when they go home, it's basically deserted.
From staff in the cafeteria to security personnel, The higher education sector employs a lot of people.
The UK government has proposed budget cuts of over £3.5 billion in the higher education sector. This proposal came as a bad news for not only students but also for many businesses in Cardiff. Although universities are confident that the belt tightening will not affect the students in the short term. But the Welsh politicians feel that in light of the economic downturn, budget cuts and fewer students are inevitable.
The education budget is not a Christmas tree with presents for everybody, and that's a very important message, I think, to give out at a time of financial austerity. We know that the Assembly government's budgets, the money that we get from Westminster, is going to be under a lot of pressure, particularly from the next financial year. It's already tough at the present time. We won't know the final settlement we get from Westminster until late in October of this year. And after that we will come to set our own budget. So what I am saying is that where money is being spent, it's got to be appropriately focused, it's got to be effective in the outcomes that it's producing. And when I look at the spending patterns in the higher education sector, the work that's being done for my department by PricewaterhouseCoopers has suggested that in higher education, only 48% of spending is going to the front line of delivery of teaching and learning and knowledge transfer, and 52% is being spent on backroom services, administration and support.
But the big question is whether the cuts will bring pink slips for the administration and support staff.
Well, restrictions on public spending will mean that there will be job losses throughout the public sector. We know that. It's no secret. We will try in the Assembly government to avoid job losses where we can, but it's going to be very hard to do that. As a large proportion of the money that is spent in the public sector is spent on wages and salaries. The issue for us at the moment is we still don't know what our budget is going to be from the UK government. We expect to hear that, as I say, in late October. That will give us a clear indication of the challenges that we face, but we are budgeting very conservatively for the next 3 years. We are expecting to face budget cuts, but we have made it clear we will try to protect schools and skills.
What added fuel to the debate is that the Education Minister said that Welsh universities lack leadership. Cardiff University completely refutes his view.
So he's basically said the sector is rubbish. But if you look at the empirical evidence, which those of us working in universities are more inclined to do, what we find in my own institution, for example, we have 2 Nobel Prize winners. We've broken all the records on research income to about 150 million this year. We did very well in the Research Excellence Framework, as did some of the other universities, and high levels of student satisfaction. So I don't recognise that description as befitting my own institution, and indeed, some of the others in Wales. So I think it was unfortunate to describe the entire sector in critical terms, even though there are some weaknesses that need to be addressed within it.
The National Voice of Students and the University and College Union are protesting the budget cuts. They've organised a national demo, Fund Our Future, Stop Education Cuts, in November.
We're trying to rally as many students that care about their education and worry about these cuts to take a stand on this day and really to protest in London against the cuts, and really try and highlight to the general public and to the government why cuts to education can be harmful to not only just students but to the economy as a whole.
Another point of contention is the funding gap between universities in England and Wales. So are universities in Cardiff happy with the funding received?
I think I have to say no, in the sense that over the course of the years since devolution, there has been an identifiable funding gap between Wales and England. And this derives from a number of reasons, but it does mean that we have had to contend with a slippage in relation to our competitors and comparators in England. As you will know, the funding systems in the various parts of the UK are now divergent, and Wales has not benefited from that.
With the financial crisis looming large, there's an ongoing debate as to whether investment in the higher education sector is a smart move. Countries like USA and India are resorting to higher education. Then why is UK pulling its hand out of the higher education sector?
One of the things which I think must feature in this debate is the view of education, and I think unfortunately one of the things which got lost recently is the idea that education is no longer a value to society. I think what this boils down to is whether or not you see education as a cost or an investment. And I think many people need to see education as an investment in terms of economic development, the benefits of having international students coming into the country, not just because they bring a rich cultural diversity into the country, but also they learn about the country, they can take their experiences away. But also I think long term this is something which develops the human capital of a society, as well as the social aspects in terms of widening access. So in that sense, I think education should be seen as an investment.
In the present economic climate, where most businesses have incurred losses, the decrease in the number of students would be another jolt.
The students aren't here, the business isn't here, if the business isn't here, we don't make money. Simple as really, but yeah, it would affect trade dramatically in Cardiff because everything is built up as a university city for hundreds of years now. So it's all built around the seasonality of students sort of go home for summer, but then everybody from Wales comes down into Cardiff, it wouldn't survive without the students being here to sort of feed the economy really, especially in these hard times.
It is no secret that there will be fewer students coming into Cardiff in the near future. But then, who will fill these places? Won't the budget cuts in the higher education sector put the economy at risk, the future at risk?